Hey everyone, Brian Zane here. Payback 2017 is in the books and I'm here to give you my thoughts on the show. A quick note, I did not watch the pre-show because I couldn't care less about Enzo and Cass taking on Anderson and Gallows for the 100 millionth time. And as far as the Miz TV thing with Finn Balor went, I saw the tail end of it. It was ended with a skirmish and Finn Balor standing tall at the end, as I kind of could have told you that a week ago. So there we are. The main show kicks off with the U.S. Championship match as Chris Jericho fights the champ Kevin Owens. Sing it with me, everyone. America, 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 America. This was a really entertaining match, and for a match that a lot of people had foregone conclusions toward, this was one that really surprised me in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed Kevin Owens' counter to Jericho's triangle dropkick. He grabs his head and throws it into the turnbuckle cover. The go-home begins, and Jericho counters the pop-up powerbomb attempt into a Hurricane Rana. Owens kind of lands kind of high on his head. That kind of looked scary for a second, but he's in the walls of Jericho, and as a callback to WrestleMania, he gets the rope break with the tip of his finger, and I thought it was a brilliant callback to that. And then Jericho goes nuts and just beats on Owens' hand for like a solid minute, just like attacks it with the stairs and just beats the hell out of his finger in his hand. He just really hated that finger very badly. It is on the list after all. So then Jericho gets him back in the walls of Jericho in the middle of the ring. Owens can't, he's trying with the injured hand, he can't reach out and he taps out, and Jericho wins clean with the walls of Jericho to become the U.S. champion, which was a total shock to me. When's the last time Jericho won the match with walls of Jericho as a babyface? I don't think it's ever been done. To be quite honest, it's been a long time, if that. But he wins the match, and he's the new champion. And now everyone's kind of speculating what's going to happen. Like, oh, is his tour with Fozzy not happening? No, I still think, as cool as this moment was, and oh, by the way, especially extra points for the moment Jericho had with the fan at the front row after the match as well. But just I think people are asking, like, oh, what's going to happen on Tuesday? Lots of people are speculating, oh, Corbin's going to beat Jericho. I don't think that makes any sense, because if he wins the title, then he'd be facing Styles as the number one contender. These two have already fought twice in the last 2 weeks. I don't want to see them fight again for a while, much less for the title. So, yeah, Corbin doesn't make any sense. I don't think Styles is going to take the belt off Jericho, so they're going to have an automatic rematch where Owens beats Jericho. That's Jericho's right off, and then it leads into the Owens-Styles feud, which is for the title, which is what they've been kind of telegraphing for the last several weeks on SmackDown. Cruiserweight Championship match as Neville defends against Austin Aries in a rematch from WrestleMania. This match was very hard-hitting stuff. Both guys looked great in this match. Not much more to say about the match in particular. I like the finish where Austin hits Neville with the sunset flip powerbomb from like the second or top rope. That looked brutal. Goes right into the last chancery. You think it's going to be over, but Neville grabs the referee and somehow, with the strength of one arm in a really weird position, tosses him over both guys, and the ref throws the match out. It's disqualification, and that's how Neville holds on to the belt due to champion's advantage. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go the route of like TJ Perkins as the toady, kind of running in and costing Aries the match in some way there, just to further continue that relationship between Neville and Perkins. The finish was, it pissed the crowd off because it was a great match, and have it hampered by such a detestable finish. The crowd was, and by the way, the crowd was hot pretty much the whole show, at least the first half of it, until a certain point, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But that was, I think the match itself was fine. Great heat on Neville. The Raw Tag Team titles on the line as the Hardys defend against Sheamus and Cesaro. This was a very physical match between the two of them. I think the bump that Jeff took out was for the cutoff when he fell out unassisted, didn't grab the ropes or nothing, just took a bump out to the outside of the ring. That was kind of a scary fall. At some point, Jeff lost a tooth. I don't know how that happened. I didn't catch a replay or saw what happened. So that was kind of weird to see. I just assumed, oh, I guess Jeff's just been without a tooth for a while. But no, apparently he lost it in the match. You could say the tooth was deleted. At one point in the match, Matt took a second rope white noise from Sheamus. Looked like a pretty snug bump. It was like flattened like a pancake. The match ends with a blind tag. Sheamus doesn't see Matt tagging Jeff. So Sheamus slams Matt. Jeff hits the swanton onto Sheamus while he's pinning Matt. So Matt gets crushed again in the match. And the Hardys retain. And so you have this moment again. This is the tense moment. There's the handshake, kind of what we've seen the last couple weeks on Raw. But like I predicted last week in Who Wore It Better, this was the blow-off where Sheamus and Cesaro, they walk away, Hardys celebrate, they come back in, and they jump the Hardy Boys, and they beat the bejesus out of them. Sheamus hits Matt with a brogue kick, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the look on Matt's face when he was selling it knocked out looked very odd. You might say a little broken. I don't know if that. I think people have been speculating that this is the match that's going to be the tipping point to bring the broken gimmick back. back to the Hardys. There's been speculation that WWE has bought the rights of the gimmick from Impact. I don't know the validity of that, if it's true or not, but depending on what we see this or next Monday night, that will have pretty much answer our question. Raw Women's title on the line as Bayley in her hometown of San Jose defends against Alexa Bliss. Here's a spot that pissed me off. Midway through the match, Alexa tosses Bayley out of the ring, and she's beating on her for a bit. She tosses Bayley back into the ring. The count is still going at this point. She's milking the count. She's talking trash to the fans. She gets on the apron at 9. Bayley runs into her and pulls her back into the ring, and the count stops and the match continues. Why would you do that? If you were an opportunistic wrestler, you would just bump her off at 9. She falls to the ground, 10 count, she can't answer the 10, and the match is over. It's not like a do-gooder way to win, but it's a smart way to win. Bayley winning Alexa by countout, Alexa being too overconfident and too cocky, and it costing her. But they didn't do that. Bayley stops Alexa and pulls her in, and the count stops and the match continues. That I thought, and you could argue, let me know what you think if that would have been like a smart move for babyface Bayley to go through that. I think you can be a babyface and still kind of win by outsmarting your opponent. It's not cheating. She wouldn't have won by cheating. She was just winning by being smarter. Anyway, Bayley hits Alexa with a top rope elbow drop. Alexa kicks out, which is surprising. That's the move that Bayley used to win at WrestleMania in the women's title defense. The match goes on. Bayley has got Alexa covered near the corner. Alexa kicks out, and Bayley slides head, shoulder first into the whole protected turnbuckle shell casing, and she's knocked out. She's loopy. Bliss hits her with the DDT to win the match and win the championship. She's now the first woman to win both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. Night of DDTs, by the way. That was like the third match in a row, or 3 of the first 4 where DDTs were involved. So I thought it was interesting that one was a finish. But anyway, Alexa Bliss wins, takes advantage of an injured Bayley. Of course, the hometown person doesn't win. That'd be silly. And then Alexa Bliss is the new champion. Now it's time to talk about the House of Horrors match. Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Where to begin with this whole segment? If WWE wanted to make a movie, they should have just made a movie, not do this whole sketch, in this whole other plane of existence different from what was going on in the ring. Now here's the thing. Matches that take place outside of an arena or go out of an arena, these non-conventional matches that happen like on location somewhere else, I think we've seen them time and time again for decades, and I think they can work if done properly and if used in the right context. But this was just like tried too hard to be like totally everything that the main product isn't. Like, we know that what we've seen with Bray and Randy at this point have gotten into the whole spooky paranormal level, but this was just like totally cliche, like, ooh, baby dolls hanging from the ceiling. Ooh, random, pagan shrine in the basement. Okay. For this match that was, Bray was promising that Randy's mind would never be the same after this. It just like Randy kind of shrugged everything off more than anything else. He didn't seem affected or like touched by anything that he saw in the match. Otherwise, it was just a brawl in this old house in Missouri. And that's another wild thing about this match. It was taped at night in Missouri, and meanwhile in San Jose, when this is airing live, it is broad daylight. The sun is not even close to setting at the time that this match happened. I think it was like 10 to 6 my time, and it was just, come on, it took you out of the whole thing entirely. And it even add further insult to that, I think the whole thing was silly to begin with, but then they did this one thing, the spot where Bray knocks the fridge over on Randy. For a split second, it cuts to this overhead shot that you've never seen there the whole time up until this point. Just for like half a second, it goes to that. It just took me out of it to the level of like, that the halftime heat match between Rock and Mankind in the empty arena, where it was single camera or 2 cameras roaming the whole time, and then out of nowhere you see the top-down view from the forklift lowering onto the Rock, which just takes you out of the whole thing and makes you realize, oh, this isn't a fight, this is a movie. That's exactly what they did here with the top-down camera view with the fridge hitting Randy Orton. That was ridiculous. So that happens. Bray leaves the house. He says, "Follow the buzzards," which was the code word for the LED projectors at the outside of the house to change color. Apparently it's voice activated, and they go from blue to red. Ooh! If you're gonna have an effect like that, have the house catch fire or blow up or something with Randy inside. Like, oh, what's gonna happen to Randy Orton? Have it end on that kind of note. The lights changing was some of the hokiest shit I ever see. It was what you do like in a high school theater production to give the illusion of fire for the viewers to imagine in their minds. It just goes from blue to red. That's what I saw, and that was One of the most, I laughed my ass off when I saw that. Then Bray limps his way into the limo where Randy showed up in, and then he says, "Driver, take me to the arena." And then he drives off into the night, the 28-hour drive from Missouri to San Jose. God, you know, they tried to do what, you know, Lucha Underground has done, tried to do what the Final Deletion did last year, and ooh, it fell flat. I mean, everyone says that last year the whole New Day Wyatt family compound fight was like their answer to the Final Deletion. No, this was their answer to the Final Deletion. It was way more, you know, carbon copy from what I could tell. A lot of elements were there. No fireworks, unfortunately. No Senor Benjamin. I think if we had any of those, it would have been a lot more impressive. If we saw fireworks emanate from the house instead of the light changing from blue to red, I think I would have popped a little more for that. So anyway, that pre-tape bit happens. Bray Wyatt makes the drive, the long drive from the House of Horrors to the arena in San Jose. He gets there and he does his entrance. Someone gave him his lantern between the limo and the gorilla position. And he gets out there and lights come back up and Randy Orton's there. And the announcers really downplayed the fact that he somehow beat Bray Wyatt to the ring, or he got there at the same time. Like, people online are joking, oh, well, he learned how to teleport from Bray. First of all, why didn't Bray teleport from the House of Horrors to the arena? Why did he take a freaking limo? Second of all, how did Orton get there? And, you know, if he didn't teleport, how did he get there? Was he like a cartoon character, like hiding under like the chassis of the limo the whole time, like sneaking underneath and just driving the whole time? It was just what. And then anyway, they have a fight. Before I just totally lose my mind, I'm losing my sanity more than Randy Orton is in this House of Horrors match. They fight, they brawl for a while, they have a chair, and then finally, in the end, as Orton hits Bray with the RKO, you think the match is over. But then the Singh boys, not the Bollywood boys anymore, the Singh brothers come out, and boy, they are dwarfed by Randy Orton. First of all, they look like tiny children compared to Orton. Orton knocks them out of the way, and then Jinder Mahal comes out with the stolen championship belt, hits Orton twice with it. By the way, I can't remember the last time the title belt's been used as a weapon, so points for that. And so Jinder interferes. Bray hits Sister Abby and wins the match. He gets this very empty, hollow victory at the expense of Orton after everyone and their mom comes running in to attack Orton after all this psychological torment at the House of Horrors and the long commute from the House of Horrors back to the arena. This whole thing was just bizarre. And like I said at the top of this bit, you can do out-of-arena matches, and I think the number of those kind of matches that have gone well is far outnumbered by the number that have not. But I'm saying there's better, more tasteful, classy ways to do this kind of thing, and it was just weird, you know. I didn't like it. The crowd, I actually found out, you know, people were chanting boring. The live crowd in San Jose was chanting boring as this was going on. They were booing the segment. After the segment was over, it cuts to the three-man announce team. The crowd is booing, and they have to work their ass off to get the pay-per-view theme playing to drown that out. This is going to go down, I think, as one of the bigger blunders of the year, in my opinion. It's just like totally failed in its execution, looked too hokey, looked too cheap. You know, the whole idea of Orton being psychologically tormented, I don't think is going to happen. Like, he lost the match, and other than that, he was just kind of befuddled at hanging dolls. But before the live portion of House of Horrors happened, I'm jumping back in the timeline a bit, going to the Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe match. It's a nice little change of pace from the bullshit we saw in the part 1 of House of Horrors. You know, this is a really solid match. I think this is technically it was one of the better matches of the night, and on a physical level, I think they just both really delivered. Joe working the knee for the majority of the thing. They have trading suicide dives at one point. Joe's is always going to be more impressed because he's the fat dude. The match ends when Joe gets Rollins in the sleeper, and they actually do the very similar spot to when Jericho tried to counter out of it, you know, a week or two ago on Raw, when Joe had him in the coquina clutch. Jericho tries to break out of it with the jumping off the turnbuckle, all the Bret Hart WrestleMania 8. Joe kicks out of it and gets him back in the coquina clutch, and then Rollins does a snapmare, rolls him up like that, 1, 2, 3, while he still has the hold applied to him. So Rollins with the surprise win. This fluke win felt better to me than, for example, when Kalisto beat Braun Strowman last week. But it was, yeah, I think if there was a way for Joe to lose, this is probably the best way. He loses very strong. He looked very good in this match. Like, this is an example of someone getting kind of outsmarted in the ring, you know, as opposed to what happened, you know, in the women's title match. Like I said, that was a great opportunity for Alexa Bliss, for her, you know, her arrogance to cost her, and we didn't get that. But this one we did kind of. It wasn't even an issue of arrogance. It was just Rollins being the better wrestler, and I think that's a good story to tell sometimes. So Joe still looks good in defeat, and I don't know where they're going to go with this from here, but Rollins scores the victory victory. Main event time, Roman versus Strowman part 3. I'm not sure which one this is now, but you know, this match I almost say was actually a continuation of the brawl that happened 3 weeks ago when Roman got the ambulance tipped over on him and stuff. So this is a continuation of that, kind of like House of Horrors. Orton and Wyatt were still fighting. Now Roman and Strowman are still fighting. Anyway, Roman's very heavily taped up. This is his first appearance back since the ambulance got flipped. He's still selling the injuries. Crowd doesn't give a shit. They're still booing him. This match starts out as a brawl from the get-go. There's not a whole lot. It starts out, you know, at second or third gear already. Roman gets beat up for a lot of this match for the first part of it. His first real significant hope spot comes when he does hit Strowman with the Samoan drop. Then this part of the match, you had the wrestlers kind of trading finishers. This was the biggest example of that throughout the night. There were a couple of smaller examples earlier on, like Alexa Bliss kicking out of the elbow drop from Bayley, but for the most part, the whole kicking out of finishers gimmick was saved, or at least it was not done as excessively as it was here in the main event. You had Roman hitting Strowman with a bunch of spears and Superman punches, Strowman not going down. Strowman hits Roman with one running power slam. Roman kicks out, hits him right again with another one, and then Strowman wins. And so Roman Reigns is defeated cleanly in the middle of the ring by Strowman. You know, you can count on one hand the number of times Roman has lost clean in the last several years. And so for this to happen here was pretty significant. Now, I'll talk about what's really wrong with this whole scenario in a minute, and I'll tell you about the aftermath here. So Strowman, he wins the match, but he keeps beating up on Roman Reigns. He gives him the internal bleeding spot where he keeps beating him up with the steel stairs. He tosses him into one. He grabs the steel stairs. He actually throws him down onto Reigns, and then the bleeding starts. And so Strowman walks away. The pay-per-view officially ends when Roman is being carried to the back. He's walking out under his own power. But then as the Raw Talk segment begins, it continues, and he's walking to the ambulance. He's kind of holding up there his own power. And then, like a friggin' cartoon spot, I laughed my ass off when this happened, Strowman comes running, "I'm not finished with you!" And just like, Roman gets out of the way, and Strowman blows away the door. That was hilarious to me. I thought it was awesome. And then so Strowman gets, you know, beat on a bit by Roman Reigns. Roman kind of uses the other existing ambulance door to beat up Strowman for a while. Strowman runs off, so he licks his wounds. Roman lives on to fight another day. But deep down, I kind of kept telling myself all night, this match really shouldn't be happening here. Because no matter who, I was actually hoping for a no contest finish, like a double DQ schmaz finish, because I think that would have been the best way to protect both guys. Because look at what you have here, you know, no matter who wins, it's like a lose-lose situation, because if Strowman loses, then it undoes everything he's done in the last few weeks, his feats of strength and his just destructive abilities. It would have made him look dumb to lose to Roman. That didn't happen. If Roman loses, which he did, then it really undoes the fact that he won the main event at WrestleMania and retired The Undertaker. Like, this is the guy who retired Taker, and he loses 1 month later to Braun Strowman, you know? Clean as a whistle. That to me, that's not a good look either. It was kind of a no-win situation for this match. I wish they didn't do it so soon. But Strowman winning, if someone had to win, Strowman winning to me was probably the best option, the better option. I think Roman winning would have been too predictable, and also, again, would have undone all of the good that Braun Strowman's been doing over the last few weeks. So what grade do I give Payback 2017? To me, this is a really up and down pay-per-view. I think people across the board have a very overall negative opinion of the show. This is the worst show ever. This is terrible. There were terrible parts. I will not disagree with you there. I think the House of Horrors match was awful. It was shit. It was overproduced schlock. If they wanted to make a movie, they should have just made a movie, not that. And also, just Bray winning, that didn't do anything for him. It doesn't hurt Orton, and it certainly doesn't help Bray, because they're back on separate shows now. What's Bray going to do now? And so there's that. The main event was not their best encounter between Roman and Strowman, in my opinion. I think the matches they've had leading up to this were better. But like I said, you know, it was a decent match, and the man who should have won. But I still think it was kind of a no-win situation just having them wrestle, because each guy had something big to lose by losing that match. And I think Roman losing so soon after winning at WrestleMania didn't do the best for him. That was my opinion. But I think the mid-card of this show was really solid. Like the tag title match, the women's championship match was good. I liked Samoa Joe and Rollins. I think the Cruiserweight match was good. I think pretty much all the other matches really met or exceeded my expectations. Like, those were fine. I wasn't pissed at any of the results of what happened in that portion of the show. I didn't watch the pre-show, so it doesn't affect my standing on it. It might actually enhance my opinion on Payback this year. But I do think the mid-card, it didn't make up for what happened in the two main event matches, but, you know, the main event matches were meh, so to speak. And that really puts a damper on the show for me. I think overall, and I might be in the minority here, I think I might be too generous with this grade. I want to give Payback a C+. Like I said, the mid-card matches were fine, and there were big twists. We have new U.S. champion, we have a new women's champion, we have a heel turn from Cesaro and Sheamus. Like, we've got things happening here that are intriguing, and I want to see where this goes. But at the same time, like I said, those two main events, man, those were rough for different reasons, but especially House of Horrors. For a match that was built as long as it was with no indication of how it was going to go, and then you have this whole pre-tape thing, people don't go to a live shows, they don't spend all that money, and people don't subscribe to the network to watch these pre-tape things where there's no crowd interaction. Save that for Raw or SmackDown when you don't have when people aren't actively spending money to do it. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's no Universal Champion, there's no Intercontinental Champion to be found. The WWE Champion was in a non-title match with someone from a different brand, and it was just kind of, the finish was used to extend the storyline going on with the title at the moment on the other show. So I think the Superstar shakeup, for all the good it did, I think it also created a lot of headaches, especially with this pay-per-view. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Payback 2017. Let me know what you thought about the show in the comments section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. And don't forget the new Patreon page, patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. For as little as $1 a month, you can contribute to this channel monetarily. You can help determine some of the future content of this channel. You get some Patreon exclusive goodies. The highest tier, you get the exclusive Stunt Granny t-shirt, not selling anywhere else, but for the $40 backers on Patreon. So be on the lookout for that. So I'm signing off for now, folks. Just a heads up, Season 7 of Wrestling with Regret begins this Thursday. That's right, there's no breaks this time. Last week's episode, Robo WrestleMania, that was the Season 6 finale. Triple H seems to be kind of the harbinger of these season breaks, but we're moving right along into Season 7, starting this week with my review of Wanna Be the Strongest in the World. Should be interesting. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.